Hey everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. My name is Mark Stevenson.
And this is Mark Vila. And today we're going to talk about the Roland versus Studio BN-20 versus everything else.
Everything else. And the BN-20A. We're just going to say both models. By the way, I have to mention something weird. And that is, the longer you pause between when I introduce myself and you start, it just makes me seem so much more awkward.
Really?
You know, like I didn't finish a sentence. So, so you can use that against me anytime you want to.
I feel like just the intros are better the longer I pause it.
Are they really? So like
I could just gab it.
They have time to absorb who I am and pay attention to who you are.
It's mainly just about my own personal confidence.
Okay.
So yeah, nothing about you.
Like I can wait as long as people are going to wait for Mark Vila. That's really.
So really, this episode, it is about a specific piece of equipment in the customization industry, but there is a good overall theme about this episode too, and it's really about equipment that you might think you want versus equipment that you probably really need, right? So that's kind of the theme. And we're going to focus it on a specific piece of equipment that is oftentimes shopped for and is a great piece of equipment. And it's not about telling anybody they shouldn't buy this, because they probably should for various reasons. But it's more so about discussing pieces of equipment, understanding what their pros and cons are, getting the knowledge behind them, and working with a company that, when they're selling you a piece of equipment, their job isn't to just sell you one piece of equipment, but their job is to help your business choose the right piece of equipment for what you need, rather than what you thought you need or what your friend's shop might own or something like that.
That is a great way to put it, because, ColDesi is kind of in a unique position in that we sell so many different kinds of equipment that we know and that we train on and that we're intimately familiar with. So we know their capabilities, we know, the good and the not so good, where most people that come to us because they were inspired by a particular system or a particular application. Like for the BN-20 or the BN-20A, you might have seen the window clean video, or you might have been inspired by the idea that you can do banners, or maybe you saw the video of us putting a sticker on a beer stein. So it may be something really specific, or that you're using a Cricut like right now and you want to really graduate. So maybe something specific like that caught your attention, but that may not be the best thing for your business. So this part of this is keeping an open mind, especially if you came into us or you started talking to anyone about the Roland product, the print cut machine, that you be ready to talk about your idea for a business or what you want to do versus just the pros and cons of a printer.
Yeah. And also inspiration also comes through social, right? Somebody saw a video of somebody using something that they posted to Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, or somebody was in our Custom Apparel Startups Facebook group, and somebody was just maybe shopping for the Roland versus Studio, or just commenting. They made something that looked fantastic, and a bunch of people commented underneath it and said, I have that machine. I love it. I have it. I love it. Oh, I've owned one for 5 years. It's my favorite piece of equipment. And somebody sees that post and says, I should get one of these. This is the next thing I need. And maybe it is. But this podcast will hopefully discuss if this piece of equipment is what you're looking for. And then I think just as I mentioned before, just a general concept of how to properly shop for equipment. So
I like that. And I do want to add that by inverting that situation that you just described. Someone will post something that they've got a BN-20A or any piece of equipment. They say, look at this cool thing that I made. And 3 people will say they loved it. And 1 person will say, I heard that was slow. I have a much bigger piece of equipment that's much better. I had a service problem on this. I didn't like the company that I bought it from.
Yeah.
None of those pros and cons are worthy of you either making sure that you consider or never consider a product, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to, don't rely on the last 6 people you heard talk on Facebook.
That's a challenging thing, I think, in making decisions in general, right? And you and I were actually just talking about this the other day, that if you want to try to find the best of something, the best pocket knife, the best pan, the best truck, Google searching is over for that. It's been ruined by people who do marketing and things like that, unfortunately. But if you try to search, I actually just was recently looking to replace my favorite kitchen pan. Right. So I had a kitchen pan that was my favorite. I've had it for a long time. It was kind of like a go-to non-stick that I used. And it was just wearing out, and the nonstick surface wasn't good. And I said, I don't want to get another nonstick go-to. I want to have something better. So I was trying to figure it out. So I Google search it, and all you get is a bunch of articles that link to Amazon stores and stuff like that. Nobody who's really an expert, right? So then you end up on social media, and you could end up just particularly in a thread of just some people who comment that just happen to be fans about a particular product. And you don't know what their application is. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know why they feel that way. And that's really important, because you could have 2 or 3 people saying how much they don't like, say, the Versa Studio, the BN-20 and the BN-20A. They don't like it. But if you dive deep into what they do, a lot of what they're doing are things that are sublimation style of applications. So they're doing a lot of mugs and coasters, and they're doing things that sublimation's greatly suited for. And you're in a little bubble of people that really sublimation's better for them. And I think that we could just kind of talk about, what we'll do is we'll talk about the Roland, and specifically the BN-20 and BN-20A. We'll talk about what it does, a bit of what it costs, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about some other technologies that are similar in capability, or where they might have crossover. And if you run into somebody who is better suited for one of these other technologies online, they may tell you the other technology is better. However, it really just depends on what they're doing.
Yeah, it's interesting because, one of the problems we have as a company is the reason that we've done so well is because we do so many different things, that so many times someone will come into the business looking for one piece of technology and then end up with something completely different. The oddest combination is how many people buy direct-to-garment printers after they came in originally asking about embroidery machines. I mean, we just run into that all the time. So that open mind is good. And hopefully what we talk about next is going to help you work through that process.
Yeah. So that's good. So since we're here to talk about a specific piece of equipment, and although this is a bit of a commercial for a piece of equipment, we're going to try to just objectively talk about all this stuff together. So this is great education for anybody who's new to the industry. And maybe is just getting started, and maybe you're thinking about starting an embroidery business, or you just bought an embroidery machine. All of this information is going to be great knowledge, because 6 months from now or a year from now, you're going to be that person on a Facebook group or something asking about what to get next. And you're going to be glad that you have this information.
Right.
Further, if you already own a Roland, this could maybe put some insight into some things you're doing now, or you might be doing later, and what your next upgrade might be. Because as we've mentioned before, 75 to 80% of all of our surveyed customers own multiple pieces of equipment for various reasons, right? Every store you go to sells multiple things, right?
And if they don't, they will.
Yeah. There's very few places that sell one thing. I know it popped in my head, Nothing Bundt Cakes. Have you had that?
No. That's interesting.
A lot of listeners will have had that. And
they only sell bundt cakes.
They only sell bundt cakes, and they're the best thing you've ever eaten.
I will say, I'll say probably, I'm just going to say for now. But I also want to, to what you were talking about before, I also wanted to point out that all of the equipment that we sell and then we talk about works.
Mm-hmm.
And it works well for the application that it was designed for,
mm-hmm.
and with the proper training and with the proper work on your part. So none of it should you listen to, that just the machine just doesn't work. That system doesn't work. It doesn't produce a good result. It, I don't like it because of this. These all work, and we stand behind it. And we'll talk about Roland right now because we're super excited about it.
Yeah, great.
I think DTF is our newest printer, but Roland is our newest kind of like that competes with white toner printing and with sublimation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we love it, not just because it's novel, because it does things that none of the other technologies that we have does well.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about some of this stuff and everything that we sell at ColDesi. You made a good comment that I think is worthy of mentioning, and not a commercial for us at ColDesi, even though it kind of is, but there's not just one print and cut system out there. There's not just one sublimation system or DTG printer. And ColDesi as an organization gets propositioned by organizations from all over the world to sell their equipment, and not all of them make the cut.
I love your choice of words. We get propositioned like we're in a bar. ColDesi is in a bar. Another manufacturer comes up to us.
And some equipment we could sell and make more money on if we sold that piece of equipment, right? Yeah. We can make a bigger profit. So it's not just about money. It's about ColDesi wants to sell equipment that works really well, that has good reputation, that we can support. And it's important when you're investing in equipment that you're looking to do that too. Because you could potentially save 10 or 20% or 30% on a piece of equipment that's just not good. And that's just that's just a little side note of when you're making investments in the future about what you're investing in and making sure you're investing in something good. This isn't the TV for your living room where you just say, you know what, we're just going to save $300 and buy the generic Hisense version. And then if it breaks in 2 years, who cares? This is something that's designed to make you money. So it's really important. When it breaks, it stinks and you lose money. So let's go into the Roland BN-20 print and cut, and let's just talk about this piece of equipment for those who might not know what it is.
Sure. So you've used it most, Mark Vila. Why don't you talk about what is print and cut, first of all?
Okay. A print and cut system is a roll-fed printer that you put a rolled piece of material in, or rolled material in, and this rolled material can have various applications. The material can be used for t-shirts or stickers or automobile applications, window clings, even paper, right? It's a roll-fed printer, so you don't put sheets of paper in or specific size. You put a roll of we'll just say paper for now, a roll of material. Media would probably be the proper way to say it. You put a roll of media in there, and while it's feeding the roll of media in, it's printing. When it's done printing, you then have the option of the media feeding back into the machine and actually cutting out your design. So if you were making stickers and the stickers were in the shape of what could we say? We'll say a beer glass for a bar, right? They have and it's a big beer glass. You can actually cut it out in the shape of the actual mug, right? Or the glass or whatever it is. So you can have a logo printed on it. the beer printed on it, the foam on the top, the handle, everything printed, and then you can cut it out all out, including the actual hole in the handle, and then you end up with a sticker that's cut out perfectly in the shape of what you printed.
Gotcha. So
This
so
could
like
be-
a
yeah.
so it's an inkjet printer and a vinyl cutter
Yeah,
combined.
that's great. That's great. It's an inkjet printer and a vinyl cutter combined together. And they're really popular and powerful pieces of equipment because, like you said, I mean, you can make a custom made sticker or a t-shirt transfer or whatever it is in an exact shape with tons of colors on it. So it doesn't require necessarily, or I should say, let me say it differently. It doesn't matter what colors you want to put on there.
Right.
Right. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You can make a sticker or a t-shirt transfer or a window cling into any shape and design you want. So it's really powerful piece of equipment for creating something custom.
Frequently you can use the same image,
Mm-hmm.
on all three of those. You can
That's
have
right.
the same image that you created go on a t-shirt and go on a mug, things like that. And I will stop here and just say it prints beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Like the images are excellent.
Yeah.
They're not, when Mark says, it'll print any color, it is bright and vivid, and significantly saturated color. Looks good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to look better than anything you printed on your home printer at home on a piece of paper. Yes. by a lot. It's a very commercial grade piece of equipment. There's so much power to having when you in your business being able to have a really high resolution purpose-built system like this, right? So what's great about a print and cut system is you can get a printer and a cutter separately. So you could get a color printer that prints on sheets of materials, and you can get, say, a Graphtec vinyl cutter, which is another great piece of equipment, by the way, that doesn't print. And you could take that printed piece of material and you could put it in your Graphtec cutter and then cut that out, right? A two-step process.
A lot of people do this.
A lot of people do it. And there's advantages and disadvantages, right, to that. But one of the things you have about a purpose-built system is the ink and the cutter and the blade and all of the materials for it are all designed to work together. So when you have the separate systems, you will get paper that you print on and then you go to cut it, and it doesn't cut that clean, or you got to mess with it a bunch of times, and maybe you finally nail it down and it comes out well. But when you have a purpose-built system where it's all together, that's where you get that finished product that you mentioned, Mark, that's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Is because it's all designed together from the material to the blade to the ink.
And I think that's a really good, talking about purpose-built systems is a really kind of a clear delineation between some of the other technologies more than this one. But whenever you put multiple pieces of equipment together to create one end result, or you are the one that's responsible for sourcing things, like you buy ink from one manufacturer and you buy a printer that you retool to do something it wasn't designed to do. When you start getting into that, or buying those even from someone who's done it a bunch, there are more problems typically than if it was just, hey, this is what we built it for. We support it to do these things. We've tested it a bunch of times to do this. That's an advantage to the BN-20.
Yeah, absolutely. And an example, just if we're going to talk about purpose-built systems, one thing we can compare that everybody probably has some experience with is if you got a smartphone back when they were called smartphones. Now they're just phones, I guess. But maybe, so if we say 10, 15 years ago ish, right? If you got one of the first ones, if somebody got an HTC brand phone or something like that, it was a phone built from a lot of different parts, and then they had Google software they put on it. And those earlier phones were really glitchy, right? The batteries didn't last very long. You'd have to take the battery out and reset it all the time. You know, there was a lot of things. They were a pain in the butt to use. A lot of people just stuck with their flip phone
Yeah.
because it just worked and it wasn't any drama. And if you had an early smartphone, it wasn't. But Apple purpose built a phone that was every part and the software was all designed together, and there was one iPhone. Right back then, there was only one version of an iPhone. Forever,
Right.
there was only one version, and that's the reason why the iPhone. It's one of the reasons why the iPhone completely took over the smartphone market.
Yeah.
I mean, they occupied something like 80, I believe, if I recall, like 80+% of the smartphones out there for a long time. Nowadays, you might have a Samsung phone or a Google phone, but these phones now are more purpose-built systems. So a friend of mine works in the cell phone industry, and he just got a new Google phone, and that Google phone has the version of Android is specifically designed for that phone all together. And he's like, this works way closer to the iPhone than the very first Google phone I had.
There you go.
So when a system is designed to work together, it's cleaner, it works nicer, and it is a beautiful product. And that's one of the reasons why the Roland BN-20 print and cut became so successful and became the name for print and cut systems. So now that we know all about that, we should talk about some things that it's really good at. And then we could talk about some other competitive equipment that will that can beat it in certain areas or is not as good in other areas.
Let me interrupt that for a second, because I think one of the things that you should know about the Roland, the BN-20 version, is that part of the negative comments that you might get from big print shops is that it's small and it's slow, right? So and it is small and slower than the larger, 56-inch commercial units that a lot of sign makers have. But in that combination of the ink and being purpose-built and being able to be an inkjet printer and grate and print on vinyl is the cost for the machine itself. That's kind of in the calculation. And one of the reasons why it's going to be compared to the technologies it is because, at between $6,000 and $8,000, the Roland is not the best print and cut machine on the planet. There are definitely $150,000, $250,000 print and cut machines that are amazing. The ones that hang banners on the side of buildings. So it's not just the combination of the items, it's the purpose of the items and how it fits in your business. Right. So, and that's mixed in with price.
Yeah. Also, an important thing to mention, since we're talking about just the topic of equipment shopping in general and understanding things, inexpensive, expensive, slow, fast, these are relative terms. And it's actually 100%. Something, it drives me insane, I'm going to be honest with some of you folks out there on the internet about saying things are expensive or slow. And it's compared to what? Right.
That is my most common response.
Yeah. So somebody might say, Toyota Corolla, that's a slow car. Right. I'm just making that up. I just had that in my mind. Okay. I mean, compared to what? Like compared to a brand new Mustang GT. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
super slow.
Also half the cost.
Right.
Compared to a Toyota Corolla, a 2022 Toyota Corolla compared to a 2000 Toyota Corolla, it's probably twice as much horsepower over those 20 years. Compared to walking,
super fast.
Yeah, super fast compared to
it goes for, and it really does go to price too, because that's way too much. We try to put the prices in all of our ads. Just so it won't surprise people. So we put the prices in and we get, wow, that's way too much. You guys hearing me say that the Roland BN-20 and A versions, are somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000 right now. That price varies. And some of you are going, wow, that is way more than I can afford, or way too much money. And, and that is also compared to what? Because something that is way too much money, if you were just going to do it as a hobby, is cheap if you're going to make money with it. It's way too much money to spend $10 to create a wholesale shirt if if you aren't selling it for $20 or $25. It may be sometimes way too much money or way too expensive means that you don't think you can afford it, or that you don't have a good business plan you don't know how much money it will make you.
Yeah.
You might be saying that I don't have that much room on my credit card.
Yes. So there's a difference between the size of your budget and how expensive something is. Yeah. So a friend of mine just bought a Ford pickup, the big one.
Right.
Right. I mean, I don't know how much he spent on this. So I'm going to guess it's like an $80,000 truck. That's out of my budget on a car myself. I'm not going to buy that. Too expensive. Too expensive. He owns a roofing company and he hauls tons and tons of stuff with this truck that makes him money. So for him, it's a business asset. He has a reason. He has a special tow thing that he has installed in the bed of the truck. So he can haul like 50,000 pounds. I don't know the numbers. I'm making things up. But for him, it's not too expensive. It's what he needs for the business. For me, an $80,000 truck would just be ridiculous. I drive to the grocery store and I don't haul anything ever.
But you do buy a lot of canned goods, though. So
I buy a regular. I buy a small amount of canned goods. Actually, I'm a whole.
I don't think that's true, but I'm not going to challenge you other than say that. Okay, so the BN-20. Let's get to the good stuff and talk about why it's fun and why it's the best product that anyone should buy for any reason.
Great. Okay. So you want me to say some things?
Yeah,
that was a cue for me. Great, I love it. I'll just kind of name things that it's really great for. And if you're going to do this, I recommend it. So for one, your volume should be, I would just, these are relative terms, but like a small to medium volume, right? A small to medium volume business, you're not going to be printing 100,000 stickers in a day, right? You're a different business. This is somebody where your orders might be 10 things, your customers might be ordering 10 of something, 20 of something, 200 of something, 500 of something, right? Double and triple digit numbers, at most, right? So that's kind of the volume you're doing. You're probably working mainly with small businesses. You're probably not doing stuff for Walmart, right? Where you're printing all of the stickers for their packaging, right? You're probably not doing that. You're probably working with local businesses, small businesses, or selling online. Stickers, especially when they're custom shaped and full color stickers, printed stickers. This isn't just like you can do a single cut sticker on it beautifully too, but you could do a sticker with a logo. That sticker can be used indoor or outdoor, but you can use it for just sticking it on a laptop or sticking it on a car or sticking on a window, or something like that, or a sign for a store or something like that. Banners, any type of advertisement banners you want to do, and these could be indoor or outdoor. So birthday party banners, sale banners, grand opening banners, all stuff like that. You can print huge banners with this type of stuff. So those I say are and anything that you want to put on a window, window signage.
So maybe if we use it as an example of how you would deal with maybe a business and a high school. So if you go into a small business and let's say it's a hair salon and you get them as a customer. So with the BN-20, you can do promotional signage on the outside, which might include a grand opening banner. You can put seasonal specials on a window cling or whatever information that you want to portray to people just walking by the hair salon. Once somebody goes inside, you could do little promotional items on stickers on the counter. Maybe if you sell something special to your customers, you could put the logo and the hairdresser's name on an apron that they might use. If there's any local products that you sell, you can put your own label on it. What am I missing? If you have a big fan base, you could sell your business t-shirts. Somebody wants ColDesi Hair Salon on their t-shirt. Those are the kinds of things, if that business wants to say thank you to its best customers and send them something, give them a coaster or some kind of other tchotchke. You can do that for a small business, which sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great little one-stop package where you can walk into a barbershop, hair salon, a mortgage company, insurance company, any of these local businesses, restaurants, and you can do almost anything that they want to a degree, right? I mean, there's always a limitation, but like you said, you can go into that restaurant and you can print a ton of things for them. And we won't get into the nuts just yet, but we're getting close to the nuts. I'm looking at one right now.
So let's just briefly talk about the same thing with the school, because those are our two, most of our customers are doing stuff for small businesses or schools, right? That's a lot of it. So for a high school, for example, you'll probably get there's potential for a lot more banner business, because you could sell sponsorships for any of the sporting events, or you could print up schedules and put them on a banner in front of the school. You can do a signage in the classroom. You can do wall stickers that people can put the periodic table up, something like that. You can do booster shirts, school shirts, athletic wear, locker stickers. Those are big. You could do temporary stickers for the kids' cars or parking stickers. If you wanted to give away something for teacher appreciation, or for a particular holidays, you could do that. Honestly, it's sounding really good the more I talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you can also do outdoor banners too. So just and a point of clarification, since that made me think of it, is you can just cut any vinyl in there, relatively any vinyl.
That's a good point.
So if you wanted to buy an outdoor media in a single color, and then like we sell all this stuff on Coleman and Company, you can buy a sticker material, and then you can buy an outdoor banner, like I'm not sure the material it's made out of. I forget off the top of my head, but we all know those outdoor tough banners with the rings on the sides that you tie up to a fence when the orthodontist wants to, sponsor the school. When I think about that, because that's what I see every day. I see two orthodontists next to each other that both sponsor the school with outdoor banners. One banner, somebody with a BN-20 needs to call them and make a new one. because if I have a choice between those two, I'm picking the one on the left.
I'm going to take the good. And orthodontists have money. That's a good.
But you can roll a single color piece of material. Like if you just wanted a white banner with black text, you could just roll black material through it and cut it out and stick it to the banner. And now you have an outdoor banner. Or you could charge more and tell your customer, hey, instead of doing it just black on white, why don't we do like a rainbow of colors? We can do a bunch of different colors. You have kids there. It's a school where this will catch eyes of people more than just the black on the white, right? And so you could do either one of those things. So you could do the outdoor type of stuff too. And it's really just a great versatile piece of equipment. Because you can do all this too, and you can use any material. It is a really nice piece of equipment for t-shirts. And I think this is where we might start to transition into benefits of other equipment maybe, but you can just cut regular t-shirt vinyl. You can cut, a glitter material or a metallic material, or just a black t-shirt material that's going to go on a white t-shirt, and you can, of course, print and cut. So that ColDesi logo that you have, theoretically, we could have, printed this out and cut it out and then put it right on either one of the shirts that we're wearing. If you're watching,
and I just want to throw out a stat here. The BN-20 is a 20-inch print and cut machine, and the rolled media is typically 75 feet. I think,
That does sound right.
yeah,
Without looking
I
it up.
think so. So,
Yeah.
when you talk about the size and capability, we get questions about how big can it print? It can print about 19 3/4 inches by 74 feet, or something along those lines.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's maybe there's reasons why you might not want to do that, but we don't have to get into
No,
that.
you
But
never
could,
want to do that. You never, I made that
but
all
you
up.
could
But
print
it's
if you
something.
wanted to do a giant banner that was going to go across the entire length of the football field, for example. You could do that in sections, in really large sections, and do that complete job with this machine that could go in, and you could even be creative and stack it, 2 high and 20 wide, and have a giant logo that theoretically was 20 prints or something like
and
that.
just from a physical standpoint, I mean, one thing that the BN-20 has over its larger cousins, even in the Roland line, is that it is a 20-inch cutter, so it fits anywhere. Like we have it on a table, like just a it's a packaging table, so it's not like a card table or anything, but it's not overly big. You can easily run it in a small bedroom, or in a retail space, because there's no huge smell. It doesn't require a lot of space. It's very retail and home business friendly, small business friendly.
Yeah, it is it's an on-demand type of a printer. So you could have, theoretically, you could have a customer walk in, request something. You could set it up, print them a sample real quick, get their approval, and then print the rest of their job. Just say, hey, go to lunch and come back, and they'll be done.
So what would you say, I'm going to put you on the spot. What would you say is the best thing that the Roland can do? Like, what's the best application or your favorite application?
I really think anything with sticker material, I think, is probably one of my favorites. If you want to put a label or sticker on something, whether that would be on a wall, on a car, on a laptop, on a locker, just giveaway stickers for promos, any of that stuff, I think it's great because of how simple it is. And there's not extra steps, right? When you're creating t-shirts, for example, there are steps to creating the shirt, right? And we can get into ways you can create a shirt faster than the Roland would create a shirt.
And I'd say that my applications, the growth chart that we printed blew me away. I mean, really, it really is just a banner that you put vertical instead of horizontal. But I thought it was such a good idea, and it really woke me up to this idea of the wall stickers. Because if you think it was a 6-foot growth chart with all kinds of animated, illustrated characters on it, it was very cool, very unique. And the idea that you can do something like that really caught my imagination. And the other thing is when you did the window clings.
Yeah.
I mean, because you see those everywhere. And I just feel like if you walked down a retail, like a shopping center, and just said, hey, I do window clings, I bet you get orders for 3 or 4 at every place you stopped. Like, I've wanted to do this sign, or I've wanted to do this, or, we're going to be closed on, Tuesdays from now on. I really want something quick to put up. Those are both really applications that I really like.
Yeah. I think that's great too. The window cling is very cool. It's very cool, and it is a nice, easy way to be able to sell the product too, right? Because although I love the stickers, it is a little bit. If I had to sell something and walk up to shops, it would be, hey, I can print you stickers, versus like a very specific niche application where you could say, hey, for your window outside, if you need somebody local to print a window cling, I can turn around stuff, same or next day for you often. And if you want to do flash sales or any signage like that. And the windows cling can go inside or outside the window, which is cool too. Sometimes you don't want it on the outside because maybe weather or vandalism, I don't know.
Right.
But it can go indoor or outdoor or both, which is cool too. So now there's some other pieces of equipment we could probably get into that oftentimes end up next to this piece of equipment in the decision-making process?
I want to bracket the cost again,
Okay.
because we said it was like, it's going to be somewhere between $6,000 or $8,000. And when you spend about $6,000, if you finance that, you're going to be spending $130 to $150 a month. These are all really rough numbers. Okay.
Yeah. And that's, of course, approved credit and all stuff like that.
Yeah. All that stuff. But I want to frame that up because, how much, Mark, how much do you think like a window cling or any one of the things that you mentioned might sell for?
So, I mean, if you're not going to reasonably do any order as a business, I would say, unless the customer is going to be prepared to spend $50.
Okay.
25 to $50 is probably, and there's a lot of people listening who say, I wouldn't even start it up for that.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed. But even at that, if you've got $140 finance payment, and I'm saying this to those folks that think that the $6,000 to $8,000 is too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a $50 order and you make, even if you make $20 off of that, you're 7 or 8 orders away from making your payment.
Yeah. And
if you're not doing 7 or 8 orders a month, then you're not in business anyway.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was going to go with it too, is saying if you're in business, you should be doing orders every day, and it might take you a little bit to build up to that. Right. Yeah. But in the beginning, you really just have to say, like you said, I have to be able to go out there and sell $300 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
To people. And when you consider, we order stickers, we don't print our own stickers here because sometimes we need to print in mass and we don't sell. We already talked about, we don't sell that this isn't for if you have a 5,000 piece order, right?
Right.
So we order 5,000 stickers sometimes for various pieces of equipment or supplies. And one of those, when we do orders, I think we just did an order for like 200 stickers, which the Roland could have done it. And that order alone was almost $200.
Yeah.
So a small order right there, almost covers this payment. I mean, there's some costs, so not quite, but also if you're doing t-shirts, it's the same thing. T-shirts, custom t-shirts, small orders, you can make $10 a shirt. We talk about that all the time. Yep. So you're talking 15 shirts. 15 shirts isn't even a reasonable single order for anything.
Right. So you could even this is why this and the other products that we're going to talk about are firmly also in the side hustle range. Mm-hmm. Because even with the side hustle, you can sell 20 or 30 items. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're selling shirts, you can sell 20 or 30 shirts.
Yeah. If you have,
so you're not losing money, and then you can focus on success.
Yeah. Even the smallest of businesses, if you just break it down real simple, you're the person who might cut your lawn and do your landscaping. Maybe it's a really small company, like 3 people. Right. That's it. And you have the opportunity to sell them shirts and hats. Well, they don't just want one shirt, because are they going to wash it every day? Right. They probably at least want 5 days worth of shirts, right? A week. Right. And then do the laundry on the weekend. 5 times 3, that's 15 shirts. And then they at least want 1 hat, maybe 2 hats a piece. So there's, 6 hats potentially. So here's an order like that single order right there can make a monthly payment. Right. For a super small company who wants that. Now, if you get into something bigger, like you mentioned a hair salon, there could be 20 people that work there. Right. A restaurant, you could have 10, 20, 30, 50 people that work in a reasonable size restaurant.
So let's, but before we move on to everything else, do we want to talk about what the BN-20 does not do best out of other equipment, or do we want to talk about the next 2 pieces of equipment and highlight what they do better? Yeah,
I think that's it, everything is in comparison. So I don't really feel comfortable saying that the BN-20 doesn't do something best yet compared to these pieces of equipment until we maybe bring that out. Okay. And then we could say why it does it a little bit better, because one of the things we're going to say is t-shirts.
Right.
But it's a relative thing. because I would much rather do a t-shirt with a Roland BN-20 than say a Cricut.
Yes. Or honestly, I'd much rather do it, me personally, with the BN-20 than screen printing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. But relative, right? If you had to do 3,000 shirts, we now we're in a different territory. So the next thing we'll talk about, let's talk about our white toner systems, the DigitalHeat FX.
Right. So, and that's not just one printer, right? The BN-20 and the BN-20A is really just one printer. Both the model numbers aren't significant, as far as the capabilities that we run into all the time, and they're relatively close to the same price. The DigitalHeat FX line of white toner printers ranges like from $5,000 to $16,000, depending on what you get. So there's a lot more there. The first thing you get into is a lot more options.
And a white toner system is it's a toner based system, so it's not a liquid inkjet system, it's a toner system. So it's a dry print type of system, and these print on sheets, on pieces of paper, on single pieces of paper, not rolls. But you still can print all the colors like you could on the Roland. You can print a full array, because they both print with CMYK or CMYW on the white toners. But relatively, if you want yellows and blues and oranges and greens, you could print any colors your customers want within reason.
And pretty much if you think about, like, it's the Roland is basically a cutter. And the DigitalHeat FX white toner printers, they're basically a color printer.
They're a color printer,
like a color copier, like something that you have on your desk.
And they don't require cutting at all. So if you want to print a design on a t-shirt, once you print it, whatever you printed is the only thing that will stick to the shirt. You don't have to cut out your shape. Right? When you're working with rolled material, the entire roll is a sticker. The entire roll is a t-shirt transfer, which is why you print on it and then you cut out what you don't want. You're cutting out what you want to stick on the shirt and what you don't want to stick on the shirt. Yeah,
and if you're used to heat transfer vinyl, traditional, or you're used to using a Cricut or a Silhouette or something like that, we're talking about weeding. Right? We're talking about, with the Roland, what most people end up doing is printing something that is a full image and then just cutting out an outline, because it's very fast. And if you're doing a sticker or something like that, that's fine. For a t-shirt transfer, you might leave, if you're going to print out a word, you have the space inside the A and the O that have to be removed. If it's a vinyl system, you might use a pick or your finger to remove it. With the white toner transfers, that all comes off when you peel it. So there's no more manual prep.
Yeah, you don't have to pick it up. Self-weeding is a term that people use for it.
I like that.
It's a self-weeding system. So now, talking about why somebody might call in for a BN-20 or a BN-20A and might end up with a DigitalHeat FX is usually going to be when the primary focus of the business is printing on textiles. So t-shirts, and hoodies and polos and dress shirts and all that stuff. Usually they end up with a DigitalHeat FX system. So now it's now we can get into the comparison on why it's a bit superior. For one is that weeding that you just mentioned. It's a self-weeding system. So that means you print, put on a shirt, print, put on a shirt. With the print and cut system, you print, you weed, you add your transfer paper to that. So now it is a transfer, and then you put it on the shirt. So it is more steps. Also, toner printing is significantly faster than inkjet printing. Magnitudes faster. You can print 20, 30 transfers in the time it might take to print one on an inkjet system.
I mean, even just like when you think about a laser printer kind of thing versus an inkjet printer, if I print something to my brother black and white laser printer here, and it's just just black text, it's very fast. If I bring out my inkjet version of that printer, even if it's just black, it's still slow because it's advancing the paper at a slower rate. You know, the DigitalHeat FX, it just whips right through it. It prints a beautiful image very quickly.
Yeah, an example, if you're not familiar with this at all, if you've used a copy machine before, right, or you've seen one being used in a movie, you hit start on copies, then all of a sudden it just goes, they're zipping out, zip, 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 zip. The papers just fly out, right? And if you've used an inkjet printer at home and you hit print, you hear it kind of going back and forth, putting the ink on, and the paper slowly pops out. Right. That's the difference. It's the same difference in this right here. So the toner system just prints way faster. You don't have to weed. It's a self-weeding system. And you can print all the same colors. And it's just faster. It's just faster and easier. I think that's just a simple way in comparison.
I agree. And the idea that you're going to make a transfer every time with the DigitalHeat FX. So the idea that you can not just apply that to a t-shirt, but you can also, from a business case standpoint, you can sell that transfer to somebody else to do the same thing. I would say it's a lot more reasonable to make transfers that you can hand to somebody else to put on shirts than it is to do that with the BN-20.
Yeah. And if one of the big things, I think, where we start running into the comparison now, so now we know why somebody chose the white toner printer. They're primarily doing t-shirts. They realize that they can print faster and easier with the toner system. So they go ahead and say, and they can also do some hard surface stuff with the toner system too. Okay,
and that means and you can, promotional products like you might do with the BN-20, like apply to tiles, you know,
or coaster, you know, or something like that. Now, then you run into some of these other items, like a mug that I have here. This is a DigitalHeat FX printed mug.
Yeah. Hey, what is this? So is this one?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, you got red versus blue right here. This was printed in, I believe this is a 2019 when we did this. Might have been 2020, but I think it's 2019. I use it all the time. It's been in the dishwasher. I don't even know how many times now.
Looks great.
Ton. This is perfect. I mean, you could analyze this pretty deep. It's perfect. If this was done with a sticker from the Roland, it would be peeled off by now. It wouldn't be the sticker material. Because you're using some sort of vinyl material, glue, sticky glue, like tape, you know, but more professional, like Scotch tape, but much more professional, stuck onto something, that adhesion will break down with heat and water and chemicals over time. This right here is actual toner, you know, heat applied to this. It takes a lot more energy and heat and chemical energy and heat energy to remove this, more than a dishwasher will apply.
Okay.
Stickers are not that strong, right? Stickers will come off easier with heat and chemical reactions. So if I was doing t-shirts, I was doing mugs, I'm leaning towards that DigitalHeat FX system. The DigitalHeat FX system I wouldn't choose for stickers.
Right.
Now, can you buy sticker paper that's already cut or not cut and run it through a toner printer and get a sticker, and then you can put it into a cutter, or you can hand cut it yourself? Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything you can do with a color laser printer, you can do with a.
Yeah. So you could buy sticker paper and you can cut it. If I was but I wouldn't want to do that all day. I would rather have a purpose-built system that will automatically print it and cut it and spit it out, and then I have stickers ready to go.
Yeah. Plus in the sticker business, you might get a 500 piece order.
Yeah.
And you don't want to print out, 200 sheets on your DigitalHeat FX system.
You want the roll. You want to hit go.
You want the roll, so you can just let it print and walk away.
yeah, you walk away and then you come back, hours later when it's done and your stickers are done. Versus a sheet system, it's different. Now with t-shirts, you are handling every product individually, so it doesn't matter where you are, if it's sheets or not. Every one of those transfers needs to go on a t-shirt, needs to go into a heat press machine, all of that stuff. So you are individually handing every piece. So it's not necessarily an advantage or a disadvantage if you're doing sheets when it comes to t-shirts. When you're doing all of this falls into, small, medium-sized business order. These aren't 5,000 piece orders. These are 500 piece or 50 piece orders. However, if I'm going to do stickers, window clings are one that I can go either way, but the window cling for a white toner printer is going to be sheet sized. So you are going to be limited on your size.
Right.
And if you wanted to say do something very large, yes, you could piece it together, but now you have to print it out in pieces and consider that.
That's a lot of work.
If you wanted to do something really, I
was just going to say, so to specify that one of the things that influenced the price range that we talked about with the DigitalHeat FX system is how big of a piece of paper or film that it will take.
Mm-hmm.
So at the smallest, you're at an 8.5 by 11 inch printer.
Mm-hmm.
And at the largest, you're at 13 by 19. So if you think, and there's 11 by 17 in the middle. So if you think those are the sizes that you have an option for. If you're doing window clings, you can either do it maybe 8 by 10 or, 10 by 16 or 12 by 18. That's what you have to work with.
Yeah, exactly. And you can even print a huge window cling that you then cut, in the machine, so you can put up in various pieces. I wouldn't want to do that giant sign that we talked about that's going to go like a quarter of the football field, or something like that.
Right.
I would never want to do that in a sheeted piece. It'd be silly. It'd take forever and it wouldn't be a profitable job for the time. But I'd be happy to do it with something that can print, 20 inches by, 10 feet at a time, much easier, So there's kind of a difference in that. So if I'm shopping, just to kind of simplify it again, if I'm going to be doing a lot of signs, a lot of stickers, a lot of window cling type of stuff, banners, and sometimes I might do t-shirts, I'm going to choose the Roland.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be doing t-shirts, promotional items like mugs, and coasters and stuff like that, and that's my main. And I might do a little bit of signage stuff here and there, or I might do a little sticker here and there. I might be happy with the white toner printer because I know that those signs and stickers are going to be limited, but I'm not really offering that. That's not what I'm selling. But if I will, I can buy some sticker paper and print on it and then use a razor and cut them out because my customer wants 30 stickers with their 200 piece t-shirt order.
I agree with all that. I think one thing that I don't want to forget to mention is that maintenance is typically an important thing for a small business, especially a side hustler. Mm-hmm. And when you get into something like the DigitalHeat FX LED printer, there's nothing that you can use that requires less care, right? So there's there's nothing daily, there's nothing weekly, there's nothing monthly. I mean, basically it's like very similar to taking care of a laser printer.
You turn it on, you print, you go home and you're done.
Right. But with an inkjet, it's different.
Yeah, with an inkjet system, you want to leave it on. You want to keep it powered. It does auto maintenance. You're going to do things like shake ink cartridges and head cleanings and various things like that. So there is a little bit more work to do. It's minutes a day, but it does require work. If I was going to want to turn this printer off for the season because we're by the lake during the summer, but during the winter we leave the business because the lake's frozen. Like we legitimately have customers like that up in the Midwest. I wouldn't want to choose an inkjet printer for that.
Right.
I'm probably going to have to pack it up with me and bring it back to where I'm going so I can leave it plugged in and maintained or flush the system. There's work. The toner system, you could you could theoretically shut it off for months and then turn it back on and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we have.
Yeah, we've done that.
We've had a printer that we had to stick in a closet. We moved buildings. We hadn't used it for 4 months. And we came in and we turned it on and we did a test print on a piece of paper, and the first test print's fine. So advantage of a toner system.
And while I'll say the BN-20 does amazing things for its size, the typical DigitalHeat FX printer is less than half the size. Right?
In the amount of footprint that it takes.
Footprint. So the smallest and the middle line DigitalHeat FX printer will both sit on a desk, literally as a desktop printer.
Well, Mark and I, we were comparing desks before this,
right?
And we both have modest small desks in our offices. We don't have the giant L desks, and all that. We just have both 3-4 foot desks, and you could have a small DigitalHeat FX printer and your laptop on here.
Yeah,
the BN-20 would take up the whole thing.
Still need a heat press, but yeah, it's definitely a more conveniently sized printer to own.
Yeah, so there's some size to say with that too. So I think that wraps up the white toner. We talked about some of the differences and why, and then the last thing we talk about today before we wrap up the podcast would be a sublimation system.
Mm-hmm. And this one, what I'll say first is one of the biggest advantages, I think, to the sublimation system is the price. Because it is by far the most economical of all the things that we've talked about. Mm-hmm. Right? You can get into a complete system for what, like $2,500 or less?
Yeah, I mean, you could theoretically start under $1,000. But just a quick definition: sublimation. Sublimation is a transfer system. It's an inkjet transfer system. So you print on a piece of paper, special ink, special paper. You apply heat to it onto whatever you want to make, a t-shirt or a mug. And then the heat will transfer what you printed onto your material, onto your t-shirt or mug or whatever it is. And that's essentially what that is. It is inkjet, so you get the benefits of all that, the vibrance of the colors, and all that stuff like you do. I mean, you just print beautifully. But you also run into some limitations. So right out of the gate, you said huge advantages. It's as far as the investment goes, you can invest in sublimation for a quarter of the price, relatively to either of the other two systems we mentioned today.
Yep.
So for a smaller budget, that does work. It's nothing to do with being expensive or better than worse. It's just that this is, if your budget is probably closer to $2,000 than $8,000, this might be a reason why you go this direction. However, there's going to be some pros and cons in what you can make.
Right. And I want to make sure that whenever you compare systems and you've got this vision for your business and you talk to us about which one might be best, is that if you can finance it, it changes the picture completely.
Yeah. Okay. That's fantastic.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because let me do a little quick math here. Let's say you end up with a $2,500 system. You're going to spend, maybe $60 or $70 a month, which is free. When you go for a $7,000 system, you're going to spend $155 a month, roughly. So $155 a month is still, if you're selling t-shirts, it's still only 15 shirts to break even. So if you're financing, the difference in that payment is rarely significant enough in this price range to make it the deciding factor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like that truck example I gave earlier, right? Now for a large roofing company, I don't know what that truck payment is. I mean, probably $1,000. I have no clue. I'm just going to make that up. So let's just say it's $1,000. To a roofing company that's doing $1 million job every month, what's the difference between 1,000 versus 1,200 versus 700 payment? Right? Nothing. That doesn't make a difference. They're going to make a mistake that costs more than that every month. The same would be for this industry. If you're going to be selling 500 things, shirts, signs, whatever, a month, The difference between a $150 and a $300 payment or $100 and a $200 is nothing. Right. So when you're considering these dollar amounts and the totals, there is a total. But when you're talking about financing them and you look at your business, you just say, well, what are my goals? What am I going to do? The payment's $100 a month versus $300. Well, the $300 is a scarier number in the beginning because you are maybe working on a shoestring budget and you don't have $100,000 saved. You're working off of, trying to figure it into your monthly income that you make now because you're starting a side hustle. It's a scarier number, but in the scheme of things, it's selling a handful more shirts.
Yeah.
Right.
And go ahead. I lost my train of thought.
Oh, perfect.
I was going to say something about the payments. Oh, I remember now. We get the question for DigitalHeat FX, which we didn't mention. How much is the toner and how much is the paper?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we start to compare here to the sublimation, there's going to be a large difference. And focusing on how much is it going to cost to replace ink in the BN-20, toner in the DigitalHeat FX, or ink in the Sawgrass. When you say that, those numbers don't matter. They matter depending on how much room you have on your credit card, if that matters, but they don't matter to the end result of your business. Because if you're going to make $10 to $15 a shirt, that is with all of the supply cost built in. So if the supplies, if it only cost you $1, but you only made $1.10, then those supplies would be too expensive. If the supplies cost you $10, but you make $15, that's 150% return. So now that $10 shouldn't matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the important question for that, I guess, is if if you're trying to figure out how much profit you can make per shirt and things like that. But that's mostly what the question should be. For you, if you're looking to understand what your market is, what you can sell it for, how much profit you can make, those are important questions to ask. How much does a cartridge cost is an irrelevant question.
Right. We're not going to dodge it. You can find the pricing for everything on ColemanandCompany.com.
Yeah, we have every single supply and roll. Yeah, all the supplies, rolls, blanks, t-shirts, mugs, everything. You can go to ColemanandCompany.com and you can research all that stuff. And that's not even buying in bulk, right? I mean, that's just buying one at a time.
And what concerns me about that question is you're going to use it as an excuse not to buy the right piece of equipment or to start doing something at all. Like I was going to start this t-shirt business, but I found out that, the DigitalHeat FX transfers cost $4 a sheet. Did you find out that you can make $10 or $15 a shirt when you put that sheet onto a shirt and sell it to somebody? That's not the reason. That's not the math that you should be paying attention to.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
Okay.
So now talking about sublimation, we'll talk about why you would get it versus a BN-20, right? We're not getting the versus DigitalHeat FX. That's another thing, but versus the BN-20, if you are going to primarily shirts again.
Yes.
Right. And the budget you're looking at is smaller. And one of the things I would say is if you're going to be working in a lot of fitness apparel, right, or outdoor sports apparel, you might want to go with sublimation. One of the reasons is that sublimation transfers, I'm just going to simply transfers ink to the shirt. Right. The Roland is going to transfer a rolled polyurethane material with an adhesive on the back to a shirt. Okay. If you're doing a white moisture wicking outdoor shirt or a golf shirt or something like that, having no feel on a very lightweight shirt is very important. Right. Because you're sweating, you're doing polyester materials, there's the reason why people want those materials is because they breathe and they wick moisture out for sweating and stuff like that. So that's great for sublimation. If you're doing concert t-shirts, which are mostly going to be dark colors, you need that rolled material because that's how you can do a dark color, or you need a white toner, to do a dark color.
And that's because sublimation doesn't come with white ink as an option. So when you are printing with a sublimation printer, you don't get the option of white versus when you print on t-shirt vinyl with the Roland, you're printing on white material. And having the white background is what makes the colors true. It's what makes the colors pop. So if you try to apply a sublimation transfer to a black shirt or a really dark gray shirt or any dark color, then it's just going to come out nasty. It's going to be muted. It's not going to look right at all. So sublimation's big advantage is that you can't feel it at all. It's part of the shirt. And it looks fantastic on a light colored shirt. But the BN-20 wins because it doesn't matter what color the material is that you put it on. For one thing, the transfer is still going to look great.
Yeah. So if you're looking to do promotional goods and t-shirts that are on light colors, it's okay that they're on light colors. And you're going to be doing mugs and mouse pads and photo slates and name tags, t-shirts, even hats. The sublimation system's a great win for that. The sublimation system
I would even say it's a bigger variety of promotional materials that you can do.
You can do a mug that's going to be dishwasher safe. You can do a tumbler. You can do, there's a lot of items you can do because you're not putting stickers on things like you are with the Roland. You're actually changing the chemical properties of things so they now have a logo on them.
If you want to get inspired, you should go to colemanandcompany.com and look up sublimation blanks.
Yeah.
I mean, we just did a custom license plate video yesterday and they look fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So one of the things you're not going to do sublimation for is you're not really going to do stickers and banners at all. Right. Even less than you're going to do with the toner system.
Well, let's say that, we're talking about specific models, which is the, right now it's the Sawgrass SG600 and the SG1000.
SG 500 and 1000.
Okay. So we're talking about the desktop models that Sawgrass does. There are huge rolled sublimation printers that are in the $20, $30, $50, $100,000 range that print fabric. So it's not necessarily the technology itself, it's the combination of the technology and the printers.
Yes, it's a very specific one we're selling because yes, you could take a sublimation system and print on a polyester banner on a roll that can print something that can go on the side of a building, right?
Just not a desktop version.
Yes. So we're talking about desktop ones. These print on sheets of paper again, not rolls. They're really designed to be transferred onto another piece of material. So I wouldn't want to use this to necessarily make an outdoor sign. It's just not, it wouldn't be the preference.
Stickers you're not going to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do a sticker because you're going to print, even if you bought sticker paper and ran it through your printer, you're going to use expensive sublimation ink on a sticker. Yeah. It's not very cost efficient at all. And it's not, that ink is designed to be transferred off the paper. It's not designed to be printed on the final product.
Right.
Toner can be on the final product, or it can contain a transfer, and the same with print and cut from the Roland. That is your final product, or it might be a transfer onto something. But sublimation system is designed to be transferred. So if you're not going to be doing window clings, you're not going to be doing stickers, you're not going to be doing banners. So right there is like kind of your big difference. Your Roland BN-20 is stickers, banners, all that stuff I mentioned, and t-shirts. The sublimation system is just no stickers, banners, right. So if that's not a part of your business, then you can really consider why you might want to get a sublimation system versus a Roland BN-20.
I would say, but I think the two biggest disadvantages to a sublimation transfer, versus the Roland and also versus DigitalHeat FX is that you can't apply it to natural materials. You can't apply it to cotton. It doesn't come out right. You can only apply it to synthetics like white polyesters. And you also, can't apply it to black shirts at all of cotton or polyester. So, which both the other technologies we talked about can do.
Yeah.
And you mentioned those concert tees, white polyester concert tees are not very popular, right? They're black. They're usually cotton, or they're hoodies that are heavy cotton or something like that. So, you're out of luck with a sublimation printer. You have to think of an alternative product to sell them.
Yep. So sublimation is no darks and no cotton, essentially, in so many words. So there's all of this stuff that we mentioned for all these things. Yes, there are workarounds, and somebody could say, well, I know a way to print, sublimation on a dark shirt. And I say, sure, there's lots of ways I can make things happen with other things that I own. Right.
You can transfer roofing materials with that Toyota Corolla.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just going to suck. It's going to suck.
And
do it every day.
It's more work. It's not worth it. There's a lot better ways to do it. And you're at that decision-making phase, which is different than somebody who owns a sublimation system and has a way that they like to make stickers on it when their customer wants 20 stickers. Right. Okay. I threw away my one pan that I had. I can make eggs in a big pot.
Yeah.
You could fry eggs in a big pot. Sure. Why would I want to do that every day? So you're at the decision of what you're going to be doing every day. Now you're going to do it. So I think we covered what all of these things do. Yeah. And what they cover and why you would want to make the decision. Is there anything else?
No, I think we slipped in quite a bit of our pet peeves, that we, the questions that people ask when you ask, when you say it's too much money, or, when you hear comments about, I don't like this system, I use it, it doesn't work well, or, when somebody says that the supplies are too expensive, or I could never afford that. I hope we got through to you guys that might ask those questions when you realize there's multiple ways to look at this stuff. And when you look at it through the lens of a business, and this piece of equipment is going to help you get to that goal that you've got and satisfy the customers that you intend to satisfy, then I think this is a much easier process. And the BN-20 is a fantastic choice for people. We sell the crap out of them. It took us about 5 minutes to become the biggest BN-20 reseller in the country. Because of all of you, when we show you what it does and when we talk to you about the capabilities that you're looking for, it is frequently an answer that is a good option.
Yeah. And that's alongside people comparing it versus these other systems, right? So we're happy to, if somebody's looking to get started in the business, you could slice this up a million ways, right? But if somebody calls us up and they say, I'm looking to start a business or grow or expand my business or whatever it might be, it doesn't matter to me too much if they leave with the smallest sublimation system or a big giant, DTF printer. Yes, there's difference in sales numbers and all that stuff is important for a business. But the fact that everybody who comes in had a conversation with somebody, chose what was right for them, and then left and was able to go on to be successful. That's the huge win in large of what we try to do at ColDesi. So I'd say that, the two big takeaways for me on this are, if you are looking to potentially get a BN-20, and that's why you're listening to this podcast, hopefully this has helped either make the decision or not. Maybe you're thinking you need something different. Maybe you need that. But you should contact one of the pros at ColDesi and just talk to them about what you want to do. And the second takeaway is the three systems we mentioned here all have levels of pros and cons and what they can and can't do. And sometimes the answer is, if you say, I need to do stickers for outdoor wear. I need to do t-shirts for outdoor wear, and I need to do stickers. These are both core parts of my business. Then you may just say, my budget is no longer $8,000 for everything I wanted for the Roland, but I'm going to probably bump that up to 10. And I'm going to get a Roland, a heat press, and a small sublimation printer.
Yeah.
And maybe you decide you just need both. And that's a decision a lot of people make, because when you talk about payments, maybe you go from $250 to $300 to make that upgrade.
Yeah.
Or you go from $300 to $350 a month to make that upgrade. And now you do it all. So the answer sometimes is multiple systems, but the real answer is talking to somebody who can help you get in the right piece of equipment. So you don't end up with a piece of equipment that you say, it's really slow to make t-shirts. Because I would have said, well, if you were looking to do fast t-shirt production, why did you buy that? That wouldn't be my first choice for that.
There, that's great. And I think my last comment is going to be share the podcast, tell your friends, visit ColDesi.com, visit ColemanCompany.com, and chat with people if you've got questions or just have a business in mind and want to figure out what the best way to go is.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I hope you learned a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. This has been Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
And Mark Vila from ColDesi. And please go to ColemanandCompany.com. There's no E in that Coleman. Or go to ColDesi.com and click on the little supplies tab and just start doing some research there yourself. Look around. All the printers are on there. A ton of videos are on there. All the supplies and blanks that you need. So you can do all your research in one spot before you talk to somebody. And then when you're ready, you can click live chat or call the phone number and go a little deeper and make a decision.
You missed your big chance to really wait after I said this is Mark Stevens. All right, you guys
Someone
have a
will
great
edit
business.
in a pause.
Bye.
Bye.